Visiting the Pearl Harbor Aviation Museum today. It's December of 2024, and I thought I'd give you a little trivia on how I've interacted with these specific helicopters. This is the H-3 Sea King, and when I did my deep water survival training in San Diego, our last piece of training was to go out on a barge, jump into the cold water with not so great wetsuits, freezing, and get picked up in a horse collar by this bird. This is an AH-1 Cobra attack helicopter. There were two of these following us one day when we went to the north side of Okinawa for a simulated search and rescue to pull up two pilots out of the jungle. I was the crew chief on a CH-46. These guys were flying cover back and forth, strafing. The pilot put us into the trees, and I was at the hellhole with the winch, and I said, "You got to go up a little bit, sir. I got trees in my hellhole." And he said, "I can't, I'm taking fire." He was into it. He'd been in Vietnam, so he was having flashbacks, I'm pretty sure. But I got the horse collar dropped, and the pilots pulled up into the helicopter, and we buzzed off down a ravine and went out over the ocean and got away from the enemy. I didn't realize there were so many things here in this little spot that were gonna remind me of things, but this is the A4, a sexy little fighter, attack plane. We were doing maneuvers in Yuma, Arizona in our helicopter, and the mission was, I was the crew chief, there were two pilots, and we're supposed to go out and be doing some sort of rescue mission, flying low over the desert, but we were in enemy territory, so be looking out for bogeys. One of these came out of the sun, and I saw him at the last minute swooping down on us in our helicopter, and he said, "Guns, guns, guns." This fat-nosed thing is an H-34. The memory it brings back is there was one parked outside the base entrance at Marine Corps Air Station Tustin, California, the whole time I was stationed there. We're coming up on the CH-53D Sea Stallion. I've got about 50 hours in one of these. My squadron was what was that? 301. So HMH, yeah, H for heavy. HMH 362 was on the same base. So this was an operating aircraft when I was at Marine Corps Air Station Tustin. I've got 50 hours as just a non-trained first mechanic, they called it. That's what the guy that grabbed me, he was the crew chief. He said, "You're going to be my first mechanic." I hadn't even been to class yet down in Memphis to learn what a screwdriver was. So correction, HMH 362 was actually at Kenoi Bay. I think HMH 361 was at my base. So I would help him show up early before the flights, and we would open every panel, check every piece of safety wire, every cotter pin, and go inside, and he would sign it off safe for flight. And then the pilots would show up, and they were ready to go, and they would sign it off safe for flight because he said, "Yeah, let's go." I ended up being a crew chief. I'll tell you about that shortly, on a different helicopter. Let's look inside. We could haul quite a few troops. We could haul a Jeep and a trailer, all kinds of equipment, fuel. So the reason I got sent to this squadron right out of boot camp after a 1-week leave was because there were no places in the school at Memphis to learn how to turn a screwdriver. It was called Aviation Fundamentals. So they sent me to the squadron for 3 months. And this guy latched on to me, and I did a lot of flying over Southern California. One of my first night flights, probably just a few weeks after boot camp, was pulling externals. There's a hook that he would drop down, and there was a strap. They went and dropped me off on a hillside in Southern California overlooking Orange County. There was a 5,000-pound block with a cable on it, and when they hovered over me, I was supposed to discharge the static without getting shocked and put the cable on the hook, and they would fly away with it and come back and set it down, and we'd do it again at night. It was called pulling externals. That's what the thing was that I was doing. And finally, we get to the CH-46. This is probably an Echo, Echo model. This is what I became a crew chief on. I started as a mechanic, line mechanic, went through a training syllabus and got my wings, and it flew every day. They would fly them with 2 pilots and a crew chief. I was responsible for all the pre-flights. Again, open up all the panels before anybody showed up, check all the wiring or all the connections, safety wire, cotter pins, check the rotor connections, spread the wings, spread the blades out. They're folded in like this for shipboard operations. And we did some of that out off the coast of California, USS Tripoli. But this was, in wartime, you would have a gunner on this side, but the crew chief sat over there and dropped that door for in and out. We could haul a whole platoon or a Jeep and a trailer. Sometimes in Japan, when I was in Okinawa for 6 months, we had a fuel tank in here, and it was connected, so we had extra fuel. Lots of memories. Just every little step compartment reminds me of spending days on these things, doing maintenance, pre-flights, and going flying.